Hello, everyone. We're presenting our vodcast on scalability and sustainability. Presenting are Lisa, Tiffany, Westmore, and myself, Lillian. I'd like to begin by first explaining what scalability and sustainability is. So first, scalability is the ability of a learning initiative to grow or adapt to accommodate additional variables or needs. For example, we could have a math game, and the math game could be for fifth graders, and it begins with one class, and then it grows and is adapted to the entire school, district, or province, or possibly it can be used in another grade. Another example are podcasts. They may be used in one discipline and is eventually adapted for other disciplines, such as math, Spanish, or economics. It may also be used to accommodate different learning styles or teaching styles. So for a project to be scalable, it's able to adapt to accommodate the changes. If a mobile learning project can integrate the different variables, it's considered scalable. And if a learning initiative is scalable, it's considered sustainable. So sustainability is the ability of the learning initiative to grow indefinitely to meet the needs of a changing environment. Most learning initiatives start out as a technology, and as we start thinking of how it can be used in other ways, then other factors besides the learners and teachers come into play, such as administrators, IT support, or vendors. And this can impact scalability. And if we can't achieve sustainability unless we can achieve scalability. So Westmore is going to continue with our design theory.
Okay, so looking at design theory, we're going to start off with first mobile education. Now, with mobile education, the challenge is defining it. Right now, it's unclear. There are different conceptions, different definitions and conceptions of mobile education, such as personal data devices, smartphones, wireless laptops, and tablets. Also, mobile devices are very pervasive, and in many societies, the changing nature or knowledge of it is affecting the way we learn. One thing that Traxler mentions is that the difference between mobile education and e-learning is blurred, but temporary as the power of technology will advance e-learning and increasingly be accessible with mobile devices. Now, looking at mobile learning, what we need to do is organize how knowledge is organized and connected. We also need to define the mobility, or what mobility is. Does that mean walking while using your device, sitting, driving, and challenging? And looking at when we define mobility, we have to come with other methods or other definitions so that it will help solidify the definition of mobile learning. We will now move on to challenges in M-learning.
So one of the challenges to mobile learning is how will the current education structure adapt to the changes occurring from the proliferation in mobile technology? And so I'm going to go on next and talk about the issues. So firstly, adequate funding. Often money is spent upfront on startup costs, but money is not allotted for upkeep of the program, including technical support and professional development for teachers. Also, conflicts between stakeholders. In a study conducted by Ning and Nicholas in 2013, researchers found that the greatest barrier to sustainability of the program was conflicts between the leadership and the teaching staff. In this particular case, the principal and program coordinator, and the principal and the teachers. This was especially evident with teachers who were placed in the mobile technology implementation program as opposed to volunteering. Professional development. teachers are often expected to spend their own time learning about teaching with mobile devices, and this was time-consuming, and teachers often have become resentful. Transition from teacher-centered to student-centered approaches to learning. Teachers had difficulty changing their approach and allowing students to lead the way sometimes. The choice of devices used and who makes those choices affects the sustainability. So those choices should be made by those who are going to use the devices, but often those choices are made by leadership only. And also the ability to use the device in different parts of the world should be considered. For example, in areas where electricity is unreliable, other sources should be considered. And then the bigger the scale, the greater the diversity. So Traxler says that as we scale up projects, then the diversity of individuals increases, and this increases the complexity because everyone is not the same and how they learn is different. So now we're going to go on to the next slide, and Tiffany is going to talk about how can we achieve this.
Hi, thanks, Lisa. So how can we overcome these issues and obstacles? Well, first of all, we need this non-hierarchical, person-centered approach to make sure that there's a common goal amongst leadership, teachers, and students, and make sure that we all work together. We also need the budgeting for technical support costs, as well as the costs of ongoing professional development. We definitely need that timely technical support and having a system for getting that technical support that is simple and easy to use. To add furthermore on professional development, we need this PD for teachers so that they can use mobile technology for learning with confidence, and that's essential. Furthermore, we need scaffolded professional development for teachers and time being allotted for teachers to learn about teaching with mobile devices.
So I'm going to talk about limitations to research. So there was this quote by Traxler in the vodcast with Dr. Power, and he says, if you ask people about using their mobiles for learning, you know, for sharing stuff, for creating stuff, for talking about stuff, well, you don't need to scale up. It's already happened. So one of the main limitations to research is that researchers are still trying to solve the problems of e-learning without recognizing that mobile learning is completely different and that people see their mobile devices differently. Next. So, so this is from Dr. Power's podcast with John Traxler. He says limitations to current research is that research needs to focus on cultural organization, and in past the focus of research has been on the issue of pedagogy and technology. Instead, it needs to be on the cultural organization and working with everyone as opposed to just researchers and innovators. Diversity of groups. So what works for one group may not work for another because people are different and how they're different, as well as the environment that they learn in. The larger the scale, the greater the diversity. There's a research to practice time lag. So by the time we can put research into practice, so much has already changed because mobile technology is changing so rapidly. So we need to do research that keeps up with those changes. Anytime, anywhere, but anyone. So one of the limitations that we encountered as a group and discussed was that mobile learning in higher education and elementary schools is very different. For example, Traxler talked about a key to sustainability being for students to bring their own devices because they pay for and maintain them. In elementary schools, this becomes an equity issue because some students do not have access to mobile devices or internet at home. So then now Tiffany is going to talk about the future of mobile learning.
Thanks, Lisa. So the future of mobile learning. If we look at digital textbook and e-readers, we are actually already able to access these on mobile devices. However, these future ebooks could use the tools already built into our mobile devices, such as the voice recorder, the cameras, the timers, the GPS, and the tilt centers, and this allows exploratory learning. For example, we can guide the readers through experiments such as testing the properties of lights using their phone's camera or sound using the recorder. Mobile apps. There will be apps tailored to learners, which allows personalized learning. MOOCs, these massive open online courses. These are actually one of the recent trends in technology-enhanced learning, and it is believed that this trend will continue because of all the strong political support it has and its relationships with universities. So over the next few years, mobile technologies will connect with MOOCs, which will then allow more personalized assessment and tutoring. This experiential and location-based learning. What this refers to is the learning within and about locations that happens on field trips, like tours of heritage sites and museum visits. The mobile devices will allow the visitors to manage the information they encounter through well-designed and structured mobile learning activities. Mobile learning allows different types of teaching strategies to accommodate different learning styles. So we will be able to create an interactive student-centered way of learning and mobile-mediated activities, both individualized or collaborative. And then finally, the teachers, we will be able to act more of a facilitator and be a guide to their students' learning. So all of this future mobile learning relates to scalability and sustainability. I'm just going to talk about these two quotes that we have. Now, there is still quite a bit that needs to be done to mobile learning in order to sustain and scale up. In this first quote by Valiente, I'm sure this can relate to anyone reading this. Although access is important, it is not sufficient. We see students with access to mobile devices, but is it required? And does it meet the needs towards their learning? So this is a quote that I really want you to think about. Unfortunately, most mobile learning projects have been experimental, and these new initiatives are usually short-term and small-scale pilot projects. This hinders the ability to reach a wide audience of learners over long periods of time. However, we can't just blame the mobile learning projects. Take a look at the second quote by Traxler, and it says, "The education system is indeed broken, and mobile learning is unsustainable." One important reason that makes mobile learning hard to sustain and scale up is because of our education system. If we're trying to use mobile devices to support students' learning and move forward in educating our students, our education system needs to move forward as well, along with the advancement of technology. So I'm going to leave you this question here. How do we need to change formal education in order to integrate mobile technologies so that our students are prepared for the world? And this concludes our presentation on sustainability and scalability in mobile learning. And finally, we have these references. And on behalf of our whole group, we would like to thank you for our time and hope you enjoyed our presentation. Thank you.